What if I told you that a comedian from 20 years ago perfectly predicted the exact nightmare we're living through right now? George Carlin wasn't just telling jokes, he was reading the tea leaves of American decline with precision. Today we're going to break down his most prophetic rant and see how every single prediction came true.
The only true lasting American value that's left, buying things. Buying things. People spending money they don't have on things they don't need. Money they don't have on things they don't need. So they can max out their credit cards and spend the rest of their lives paying 18% interest on something that costs $12.50. And they didn't like it when they got it home anyway. Not too bright, folks. Not too fucking bright. But if you talk to one of them about this, if you isolate one of them, you sit them down rationally and you talk to them about the low IQs and the dumb behavior and the bad decisions, right away they start talking about education. That's the big answer to everything. Education. They say we need more money for education. We need more books, more teachers, more classrooms, more schools. We need more testing for the kids. You say to them, well, you know, we've tried all of that and the kids still can't pass the test. They say, oh, don't you worry about that. We're going to lower the passing grades. And that's what they do in a lot of these schools now. They lower the passing grades so more kids can pass. More kids pass, the school looks good, everybody's happy, the IQ of the country slips another 2 or 3 points, and pretty soon all you'll need to get into college is a fucking pencil. Got a pencil? Get the fuck in there, it's physics.
This is where Carlin becomes a time traveler. He predicted the complete collapse of educational standards with laser accuracy, and what we're living through now makes his prophecy look conservative. Fast forward to today and we've got colleges accepting students who can't read at a high school level, then charging them $50,000 a year for the privilege of learning what they should have learned in 8th grade. The No Child Left Behind program he mocked. It literally created a generation of students who were passed along regardless of competency, creating what educators privately call ghost students, kids who show up, get passed through, and graduate without learning anything substantial. Now we have college graduates who can't write a coherent paragraph, can't do basic math without a calculator, can't think critically about information they're given, but somehow earned a bachelor's degree. The pencil joke isn't even a joke anymore, it's basically the admission standard. But here's where it gets really dark. While we're lowering standards and celebrating mediocrity, countries like South Korea, Singapore, and Finland are producing engineers and scientists at rates that make us look like we're still playing with crayons. We're not just falling behind, we're collapsing while pretending everything is fine. The rest of the world is building rockets and curing diseases while we're debating whether math is racist. And the response to this crisis? More money for education, exactly like Carlin predicted. We throw billions at a broken system, buy more iPads for classrooms, build fancier buildings, hire more administrators, and then act shocked when test scores keep dropping. It's like trying to fix a sinking ship by painting it prettier colors. The system isn't broken, it's working exactly as designed. It's producing compliant workers, not critical thinkers.
Then everyone wonders why 17 other countries graduate more scientists than we do. Education! Politicians know that word, they use it on you. Politicians have traditionally hidden behind 3 things: the flag, the Bible, and children. No child left behind. No child left behind. Oh, really? Well, it wasn't long ago you were talking about giving kids a head start. Head start, left behind? Someone's losing fucking ground here. But there's a reason. There's a reason. There's a reason for this. There's a reason education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The big, the wealthy, the real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. They're irrelevant. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you.
Carlin saw through the theater of democracy decades before it became obvious to everyone else, and what he revealed is so disturbing that most people still can't face it directly. Think about it. We get all worked up about elections, red versus blue, left versus right, spending billions on campaigns and hundreds of hours debating policy differences, but somehow the same policies keep getting enacted regardless of who's in office. Wall Street always gets bailed out. Military spending always increases. Healthcare costs always rise. Student debt always grows. Corporate tax rates always find new loopholes. Infrastructure always crumbles. The surveillance state always expands. It doesn't matter if you vote for the guy with the red tie or the woman with the blue pantsuit, the agenda stays the same because the people writing the checks stay the same. The lobbying industry that Carlin mentioned? It's now a $4 billion annual machine, and that's just the legal bribes we know about. That's not even counting the revolving door between corporations and government agencies, where regulators become consultants and consultants become regulators in an endless circle of institutional capture. Your vote is a suggestion. Their money is a command. But here's the really insidious part: they've convinced you that this illusion of choice is actually democracy. They've made you believe that picking between two pre-approved candidates who went to the same schools, live in the same neighborhoods, and take money from the same donors is somehow the pinnacle of political freedom. It's like being asked to choose between Coke and Pepsi when what you really need is water. The options are different flavors of the same poison. And when people start to wake up to this reality, what happens? They get labeled as conspiracy theorists, extremists, or worse. The system has built-in antibodies against anyone who points out that the emperor has no clothes. Carlin could get away with it because he was a comedian, but try saying this stuff seriously and watch how quickly you get marginalized.
They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets, and they own all the big media news, all the big media companies. So they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking.
Carlin identified the core strategy of power: keep people just educated enough to be useful, but not educated enough to be dangerous. Look at what passes for education today. We teach people to memorize and regurgitate, not to question and analyze. We teach them to follow instructions, not to think independently. We teach them to accept authority, not to challenge it. We've created a generation of human photocopiers who can reproduce information but can't process it critically. The social media revolution didn't create more informed citizens, it created more confident idiots. People have access to more information than ever before, but they've never been worse at distinguishing truth from fiction, correlation from causation, or evidence from opinion. They can Google any fact in seconds, but they can't think their way out of a paper bag. And this isn't an accident. This is the deliberate result of an educational system designed to produce workers, not thinkers. We spend 12 years teaching kids to sit still, follow rules, and accept what they're told without question. Then we act surprised when they grow up to be passive consumers who believe whatever they see on television. The really sick part is that we've convinced people that this intellectual lobotomy is actually progress. We call it specialized education or practical learning, when what we really mean is, don't think about the big picture, just focus on your little corner of the machine. We've turned critical thinking into a luxury item that only the elite can afford. But here's what Carlin understood that most people still don't. They don't want you to think critically because critical thinking is the enemy of compliance. If you could think clearly about how badly you're being screwed, you might do something about it. So they keep you just smart enough to operate the machinery and just dumb enough to accept your place in the system.
They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. You know something? They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork, and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it.
This is where Carlin becomes a prophet of labor economics, and what he predicted has become the nightmare reality of modern employment. He saw the future of work with crystal clarity, a race to the bottom where employers would squeeze every ounce of productivity out of workers while giving them less and less in return. Look at the gig economy, the crown jewel of modern capitalism. Uber drivers using their own cars, paying their own gas, getting no benefits, no job security, no overtime, and somehow this is sold as flexibility and entrepreneurship. It's not entrepreneurship, it's sharecropping with an app. You provide all the capital, take all the risk, and they take the profit. The increasingly shittier jobs, he mentioned. We now have a term for them, bullshit jobs. Entire industries of people doing meaningless work that adds no value to society, but they have to pretend it's important because they need health insurance. We've got grown adults spending their lives optimizing click-through rates on advertisements for products people don't need, and calling it a career. And the psychological warfare is incredible. They've convinced people that having no job security is actually freedom. That having no benefits is actually flexibility. That being on call 24/7 is actually opportunity. They've rebranded exploitation as empowerment, and people are buying it because they don't have any other choice. The vanishing pension he talked about, gone. Replaced with 401ks that crash every time the market hiccups, leaving retirement planning to people who can barely balance their checkbooks. Social Security is being systematically defunded while they tell you it's your fault for not saving enough. They've turned retirement from a right into a privilege, and most people will never be able to afford it.
And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
There is a big club, and you're not in it, and you never will be, no matter how hard you work or how much you achieve. The game is rigged from the start, and the house always wins. The big club isn't just about money, though that's certainly part of it. It's about access, influence, and the ability to shape the world according to your interests. It's about going to the right schools, knowing the right people, having the right connections. It's about being born into the right family in the right neighborhood with the right skin color and the right accent. And here's the really insidious part. They've convinced the people outside the club that they might someday get in if they just work hard enough. The American dream is the carrot they dangle in front of the donkey to keep it moving. But the club membership was decided before you were born, and the only way to get in is to be born in. The class mobility that America supposedly offers? It's largely a myth. Most people die in the same economic class they were born into. The rare exceptions get paraded around as proof that the system works, but they're statistical outliers, not evidence of systemic fairness. And the people in the club? They don't even pretend to hide it anymore. They openly network, openly collude, openly manipulate markets and elections and policies. They attend the same parties, send their kids to the same schools, vacation at the same resorts. They're not even trying to hide the fact that they're a separate class with separate rules.
You and I are not in the big club. And by the way, it's the same big club they used to beat you over the head with all day long when they tell you what to believe. All day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged. And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Good, honest, hard-working people, white collar, blue collar, doesn't matter what color shirt you have on. Good, honest, hard-working people continue. These are people of modest means. Continue to elect these rich cocksuckers who don't give a fuck about them. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about you at all, at all, at all. Man, you know? And nobody seems to notice, nobody seems to care. That's what the owners count on, the fact that Americans will probably remain willfully ignorant of the big red, white, and blue dick that's being jammed up their assholes every day. Because the owners of this country know the truth. It's called the American dream, because you have to be asleep to believe it.
The American dream, that beautiful myth that if you just work hard enough, you'll make it, isn't just false propaganda. It's literally designed to keep you unconscious to reality while you're being systematically robbed. Think about the psychological warfare at play here. They call it a dream because dreams happen when you're asleep, when your critical faculties are turned off. And look around today, people are drowning in student loan debt that compounds faster than they can pay it off, can't afford houses in the same neighborhoods their parents bought homes in while working at the grocery store, working 3 gigs just to pay rent, and still somehow believing that if they just hustle harder, grind more, optimize their morning routine, they'll break through to some promised land that doesn't exist. The credit card industry alone has grown into a $4 trillion monster since Carlin said this. Americans now carry an average of $6,000 in credit card debt, paying exactly that 18% interest he mentioned, and that's just the average. Millions are carrying $20,000, $30,000, even $50,000 in high-interest debt. We're literally funding our own oppression, one swipe at a time. The banks have turned basic survival into a subscription service where you pay them for the privilege of being alive. And here's the really sick part, they've gamified poverty. You get points for spending money you don't have. You get rewards for going deeper into debt. They've turned financial death into a loyalty program. Your credit score becomes this twisted measure of how successfully you've been exploited. The dream isn't dead, it was always a hallucination designed to keep you spending money you don't have on stuff that won't make you happy, while believing that somehow this consumption will lead to liberation. George Carlin wasn't just a comedian making jokes, he was a social anthropologist documenting the decline of American civilization in real time. Every prediction he made in this rant has come true, and most of them have gotten worse than even he imagined. The consumer culture he mocked has metastasized into a full-blown addiction economy where people literally cannot stop buying things they don't need. The educational system he criticized has collapsed into a participation trophy factory that produces graduates who can't think critically about anything. The political system he exposed as theater has become an open farce where billionaires buy elections like they're shopping for groceries. But here's what makes this rant truly prophetic. Carlin understood that this wasn't a series of separate problems, it was all part of the same system. The dumbed-down education produces compliant workers. The compliant workers accept shitty jobs. The shitty jobs keep people desperate enough to keep consuming. The consumption keeps them in debt. The debt keeps them obedient. It's a perfect circle of exploitation. And the most terrifying part? It's working exactly as designed. The owners of the country that Carlin talked about have gotten everything they wanted. They've got a population that's just smart enough to operate the machines and just dumb enough to accept their place in the system. They've got workers who are grateful for the privilege of being exploited. They've got consumers who will literally go into debt to buy products that make them miserable. The American dream isn't dead, it was never real. It was always a psychological operation designed to keep people hoping for something that was never going to happen. And the genius of it is that people still believe in it, even as all the evidence points to its impossibility. Carlin ended his rant by saying, "It's called the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it. But maybe it's time to wake up. Maybe it's time to stop believing in fairy tales and start dealing with reality. Maybe it's time to admit that the system isn't broken, it's working exactly as intended, and it's not intended to work for you." The question isn't whether Carlin was right, he obviously was. The question is, what are we going to do about it?